about this rumor that you are really hired Mr. Stark?
Happy International Women's Day, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddycat, and you can find me at Roddycat on Twitter and Instagram and all that. Well, I don't know why I'm doing that, but anyway, News Nerds Need on Twitter, News Nerds Need Reddit, CB Caps Instagram. You can find me all of those places. And with me tonight, my man Mello, the smooth kind of fellow. You don't have a can of Colt 45, but nevertheless, Agent _70 on Twitter and Instagram.
And not hitting on women on International Women's Day.
Indeed. He is not being trash. So, not with us tonight. I was about to say that would not have sounded right if I had done that, what I was about to say. But not with us tonight. PCN_Dirt. And you could find him on Twitter at PCN_Dirt. You can find him at Pop Culture Net on Twitter, popculturenetwork.com. That newsvoicemail.com, ineedcomics.com. And also not with us tonight is the Osiris of this thing. One Tim DOGG98. You would find that on Twitter. You can also find them at the KLIQ Nation on Twitter and at thekliqnation.com. CB Cron on Twitter, and of course, Comic Book Resources, where he's writing his face off. He's got a couple of good things coming down the line from what he's been tweeting about and saying on the back channel. So you should go check him out. That's all I'm gonna say.
Absolutely.
So with that, you can also find this podcast on the CSPN, and that's the Cold Slither Podcast Network, CSPN.us. Do it today.
Hey.
And you can also find this podcast on Google Play and Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and the Cold Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud link. And with all of that out of the way, we are going to get to this this episode and try not to hit the update button of Chrome while I'm actually using the Chrome tab.
That's always a bad idea. Trust me.
Yeah. I was like, I want to press the button. Don't press the button. We're going to start off tonight. So we normally record on every Thursday nights, 9-ish p.m. because the ish is always something just like tonight, actually. But on this special, well, it's not special, but on this sliding scale occasion was because of movie code protocol was in effect. So Agent _70 and I both separately went to see the new Marvel film, Captain Marvel.
Yes, so
we're going to start off with a little.
Yeah, I was about to say
light-ish. Yeah, free light-ish impressions of the movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna ring the spoiler bell anyway,
just in case.
Because you just have to be aware that we're talking Captain Marvel at the top of the show, so you are forewarned. You may want to skim through the next few minutes. So here we go.
This is great. This is basically the day of the recording is the day that it came out, or the day that it officially comes out, which we saw it on the Thursday. Which I don't know why now Thursday is not the official date, because they was like, well, it started, but actually they've been doing Thursday nights forever and a day.
They officially call Thursday night preview night,
right?
And my guess is that it's because Friday's the true start of the weekend. Thursday, you're not going to get a lot of kids going. It
used to be Wednesday was preview night, and then Friday would be the.
No, but like I said, they're not going to have little kids at the anything before Friday. That's what they're assuming. So
I know, yeah, but I was saying, like, I remember a time when they first started doing, actual preview nights where a bunch of people outside of press could go. You know, now the press is like a week of preview or a week or so early.
Right.
You know, but they used to do like 1 or 2 preview nights here and there. Like I remember when that whole thing started with movies. And that was like a thing because it didn't happen that often. It didn't happen for every movie like it does now. But anyway, that's neither here nor there because we're old. We're talking Captain Marvel.
All right. So, what did you think about? Just to give a quick kind of framework to the conversation into what this movie is really about. It's Captain Marvel's origin story. We're talking about Carol Danvers.
Yes.
And it's her origin story in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So what did
that's the origin? Yes. Yes, it is that, and also great use of KLIQ DeConnick's some would say iconic run of Captain Marvel. I mean, after all, it is the run that brought her from Miss Marvel to Captain Marvel.
Right. You know. But in a sense, what we have to kind of remind people is even, you know, and this is definitely not a spoiler because most movies do this kind of out of hand. They always streamline the origin. And some comic book character origins are more easily adapted to cinematic retellings because they're kind of short and sweet, kind of change a couple of the circumstances, i.e. Or e.g. Iron Man. You just switch the wars and you make Tony Stark a defense contractor, you know, developing weapons for a war, and you kind of get to where Iron Man is.
Right.
That's one of those.
And you're not seeing, you know, a death of a parent or parents 20,000 different times.
Oh, right. I mean, that's one.
No.
Yeah. My point being that, you know, it's not, you know, it's Captain Marvel's comic book origin is not that friendly to even being explained within 2 or 3 sentences. It's, you know, the character. The character has been through a lot on the comic book page and has gone through lots of different phases. So I give the screenwriters a ton of credit in streamlining Captain Marvel's origin. And of course, minor spoiler, they do have to tie it into the fabric of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I'm not spoiling exactly how it's tied in, but it's tied into kind of like the connecting the connecting tissue, the connective tissue of all of the movies in the MCU. And you know, if you've been following along with the MCU, you kind of get where I'm going without really, you know, kind of read between the lines, because they're all connected right now because of X. So you kind of have to, you know, think of it in that sense. So I like that, you know, they streamlined it so that it was kind of readily understandable, but I still kind of was disappointed by the complete omission of the spaceman Captain Marvel, but you knew you couldn't get that.
I mean, we got it in a sense, but
right. That was actually a combination of characters.
Right. Exactly. That's what we're going to get to.
Right. That was the streamlining.
So, and so I will go ahead and say right off the bat. So, I mean, if you follow comics a while, that you may or may not, and if you have followed Carol's career in any way, shape, or form, you will have probably found out the fact that her like Agent _87 was kind of saying that her origins kind of convoluted in sentences. Yes. Because there's a lot has happened to her.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot has changed with her over the years, depending on who's right now or whatever the case may be. So
right, and I was about to say times as well.
Right. So we definitely, and so they don't do the thing, which is probably for the best, because let's face it, most of that stuff is irrelevant to the fact that she's Captain Marvel. She's Captain Marvel now. Bow. You know, they don't do Miss Marvel. They don't do any of her other you know, her other stuff. They definitely don't go through some of the crazy comic book stuff that that they've had Carol get into over the years.
Right, they can't.
Right. And some of it's because it was tied to the X-Men anyway, so it doesn't really, and at this point X-Men is still kind of on the cusp of joining.
Still on the outs, so they're not in the same continuity just yet.
Right. So there was reasons why they couldn't do all that. So I say all that to say this, that they like definitely with the streamlining, and since there was not as Agent 70 said, there was not a previous Marvel to which we knew of, prior to the movie bringing up and the streaming lining. So with that, yeah, I mean, general impressions just right off the bat, I appreciated it and enjoyed the way they did it. With the constraints. Actually, there wasn't really that much constraints that they really had, because I mean, like,
time, but
there was that.
Yeah, that's the only real constraint that they had. I was going to say,
I mean, besides the fact that hey, Kree Skrull War, all that kind of good stuff, and then getting to Marvel, and then getting to
right. So here's the thing, right? So we have. It's funny that you mentioned this. This. I don't want to spoil. Like, no, it's not really. It's a weird. It's definitely spoilery.
Oh,
but I'm trying to frame this the best way I can, and I think the best way to frame it is the characterization of the Skrulls, and that's not a spoiler. I was
going to bring that up. If you go where I think you are,
characterization, right? The characterization and the motivation of the Skrull characters that we are introduced to in this movie
is not the same as what we're historically used to.
No. And I think that if you are coming into this, you're obviously not coming into it cold, because you're more likely than not have seen previous Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, but you may not be as well versed or as versed. Let's not toot our own horns here. You may not be as versed in the comic book lore as we are. And my spidey sense was screaming.
We are not, but that's a whole nother situation.
Right. But my spidey sense was screaming throughout the whole movie, waiting for like the other shoe to drop, waiting for something.
That was a couple things I was actually waiting to happen, and that never did. And all I'm going to say is who would have thought?
And it was just based off of. I was just letting me finish the thought. It was just based off of the characterization of the Skrulls,
which brings me to that, because
just the ones that we meet here in the movie, obviously.
Well, yeah, but even still, then though, which is still going to bring me to what I was about to say. Who would have ever thought you would have? And this is slightly spoiler, but slightly not. If you don't know the comics, then none of this matters. But who would have thought you would ever get? Be able to say, guess what? They made Skrulls sympathetic characters.
I didn't even want to go there. I was just talking about, like, just the characterization overall was just out that, just so opposite to what you expect.
Right. Because again, if you've been into comics, you know the Kree Skrull world, and you know both sides for being what they supposedly are.
Exactly.
And even when I'm on the right of things, but still one has a slight bent to it than the other.
Well, yeah, I was I could just, if you could just see the look on my face, like through like 3/4 of this movie.
Watch the video.
And whatchamacallit, I probably said it out. I can't say it out loud, because just like all I have to tell the ladies and gentlemen and the kids at home who are listening, watching, and listening on podcasts in the near future, my spidey sense was tingling, was screaming, just going like a 5-alarm fire throughout most of the movie, because I couldn't grasp what I was seeing in terms of the characterization of the Skrulls. Now I'm beating a dead horse here, but when you watch this movie, you'll understand what I mean perfectly.
Right. Which and tying it back to the run that this was taken off of, I don't even know if that even obviously at that point in Marvel Comics history, and this point, which was only probably a good 5 or 6 years ago, if that I can't remember, but I don't even think the Skrulls played any part of the actual of Kelly Sue DeConnick's actual run, which is beside the point. But
right, I mean, I don't think so either.
But a lot of the movie is taken from that run, and the more important parts of that run have been taken from that. Including some of the streamlining of her origin, which Art kind of played a little bit of something with also.
Right. So, you know, I'm looking at my notes and I see the big capital letters that I wrote, you know, what my initial thoughts were, and I'm not spoiling. I'm not going to say it because it'll spoil. All right. What did you think of Brie Larson's performance?
Yeah. So I'm not going to be like some people because I know so she did all right. Let's put it that way. I mean, but in the trailers you kind of could see where it was going.
Right.
However, there are people who have based that as the whole thing. And that's a problem. Because I've even had, the person probably is not even going to watch this. When I said I was watching a movie, somebody was like, "She ruined the movie for me. I'm not going to watch it until it gets to Netflix." Blah 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 blah. I'm like, how did she ruin a movie that you haven't even seen? You haven't seen none of it about it except for the trailer. That's whatever.
Right.
But you can tell some things from the trailer, and I like to think that she did the best she could with what she had, I guess. She doesn't necessarily, and she didn't even in the trailers, and we probably even mentioned this before, she doesn't necessarily totally scream Carol to me. And even in the movies, and a lot of the parts still didn't.
Right.
But I think she did all right. Like she was definitely not the best part of the movie. But she was still all right with what she did.
Right. So a couple of things. Right. So a couple of things. Mm-hmm. It's tough to see her it's because God. I wonder if it's because we're looking for someone who's built more like Charlize Theron, but even bigger. Like taller, but like kind of
I think
more, you know, but I hate to say this, but kind of a not, you know, like not quite as you know, big as a She-Hulk, you know, but definitely more imposing. And I think that's one of the downsides of casting someone that looks like her, because she actually looks like a Black Widow, you know, like you could see her in the cat suit.
And at this point, but yeah, I guess
because she looks athletic and she looks slender and she could move, but
she's more lithe than anything. You're right, but so
that's my point. Like in terms of just, you know, how we kind of envision what Captain Marvel looks like, but
at the same time, she did put in some work. You know, the training videos are out there, so it's not like she, you know.
Oh no, she's not. Listen, she's not like a waif, but
right.
So I mean, but I don't want to get too far afield from what I was actually getting at in terms of performance. What I found is that, and you could tell I actually, you know, was writing notes down since last night and during the day today. It took a while, I thought, for her to really capture a heroic voice. And it actually makes sense because this is her hero's journey. You know, of discovery, of like finding out who she is. That's literally this movie, and that's not spoiling too much because we all know that at some point she starts out as very, very green suited and ends up in a different suit. So there's a journey involved for the character, and I think that she finds her voice when she finds herself. So at the end of it, it felt like she was Captain Marvel. Carol Danvers, like in, you know, kind of in full possession of the
movie, right?
And that's the purpose. So some of the lines that you hear her deliver, she's still kind of questioning who she is, and it's not very confident. It's not very like, you know, and I'm talking about, and obviously we don't want to spoil how things start and where things are in the middle, but even in the at the start where she's supposed to be kind of settled into a certain character, you still don't get that. There's still kind of you can kind of hear something being off, and I felt like this was a natural progression from the start to the end of the movie. So I think that we may have misjudged how well she would capture that hero or heroic voice, just from what we saw and heard in the trailers.
I agree and slightly disagree.
Okay.
So, because I have seen the points, a similar points in what you're making, and I kind of agree with it, because it's like, well, at the beginning of this movie, I have seen people say it was like, well, she doesn't necessarily have a personality because she's building it during the course of the movie. And part of that's kind of true.
She's recapturing her own personality.
Right.
I think that's part of it.
But at the same time, I'm sitting here like, well, so there's I guess this is where a problem with being a comic book fan, knowing the character is a slight problem if you're going into the movies.
Right.
Because you think of a character a certain way, and you think, well, the character, none of that really comes out, even regardless of the fact that she's still trying to find her personality during the course of the movie. There is something to build off of that could have been better expressed and as much as I hate to say this, if someone else, probably somebody different, probably could have brought it out a little bit differently. But
in terms of the performance, okay.
Well, in terms of performance and personality, yes.
Okay.
But that being said, so going back to her build and all that kind of stuff, she's a younger lady. This is a younger Carol, essentially.
Yes.
So everything you just said kind of plays more into that.
Right. So let's keep in mind. Yeah, I was about to say, let's keep in mind for the comic book folks out there. Shout out to the comic book folks. The Captain Marvel we know in the comics
has seen some stuff.
Right,
has been around, is much older and experienced.
And actually, if I'm not mistaken, has the rank of colonel.
That is absolutely true.
And colonels don't become colonels overnight.
No, that's usually 20 some odd years.
Right. That is an earned title that takes time and effort. And ultimately, as you said earlier, this is a very young Carol. So they've kind of accelerated her ascent to Captain Marvel, for a lot of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the same character that we know.
Like, I'm not even sure if we get her. I don't remember if they even to show her dog, parts of her dog tag. I don't even know if they show her rank. Oh no, they do show her rank during the as a matter of fact, well, they do show it. I don't want to give it away because that part of the movie could be partially spoilerish. I think the part with a certain
where they show a picture.
Yes. So they do show it, and I can't remember what actually her what the rank was. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Honestly, I don't think it was Colonel, because
no, I don't think it was.
She's not in command of anybody. She's a test pilot. And we're also going back to a time in the 90s. They actually bring this up, and this isn't even spoiling too much, when women weren't allowed to fly combat missions.
Right.
So there's only so much advancing they could do in rank.
Right, which again, there had a matter of fact, who KLIQ Comics run kind of brought that up, and not only that, but I believe it was Secret Wars, or there was some. No, it wasn't Secret Wars. It was another arc in her run. I think had also dealt with that as well. But again, so again, like I said, we're not getting the comic book Carol in a sense, because like I said, the comic book Carol's kind of been through stuff and it's been a while and this and other, and they could have done that in the movie, but they chose to go with a quote unquote younger one, because obviously the movie is set in the 90s.
Right, and it only has so much time to play with, right?
Right. So, and they would have probably it could arguably say that they would have had to put a little bit more work in than they had, quote unquote, the time to do. In this movie, in the times that's come up.
Right.
I mean, that could be a knock, that might not be. But that being said, like I said, she did what she could with what she have. And like I said, given the fact that it is a younger Carol and other factors, you kind of have to give that a little bit of, get a little bit of a pass.
Did you see it in 3D?
I did not, because I don't usually watch in 3D.
So just as a quick aside, the 3D in this was pretty good, especially the first half of the movie.
Right. Although, weirdly enough, they showed, I don't know, so I haven't been to too many 3D movies as of late. Do they do the preview, a lot of the previews in 3D also?
Yes.
Or
yes,
okay.
Not all of them usually, but a few.
That's what I thought, because there was so I went to a 2D movie, and I mean a 2D stream, and there was a 3D preview of Dumbo in the mix of all of the other previews. I'm like, wait, did I come into the wrong movie?
Somebody messed up and cut that for a reel or whatever. So yeah, that's
I was like, wait, did I come into did I get the wrong to ticket? Because
that's actually not nice, because then you're just looking at the 3D lines without
it's mess. Oh, it's screwed, and my eyes are already bad enough as it is. This is like, that just screwed me up for a minute. I was like, oh yeah, and I had to look around the movie theaters like, is anybody else wearing glasses? Because I'm like, what's up? No.
Yeah, that's
but
not.
Anyway, that's that's has nothing to do with the actual movie.
Cool.
So there's a couple of things getting into slight little bit of me and stuff that was kind of weird. Speaking of the effects,
okay.
Coulson looked freaky,
like freakishly young.
Yeah. I was like, oh my god, what did they do?
They did an incredible job making him look like a baby face. Like he was fresh out of whatever academy or whatever.
But it was like scarily freaky also. I'm like, what is going on here? What did it do to Coulson? And of course Nick Fury, but I've seen Nick Fury, I've seen Samuel L. Jackson in prosthetics that have him look like that, because that first Triple X movie,
right,
while he was younger than he is now, there was some,
right, and obviously they've acknowledged that they've digitally de-aged both of these characters.
So there is that. Like I
was happy to see him. It made me they gave, it seems like they gave each character at least a couple of decent lines, and I was happy that Coulson got a good line in there. Yeah,
but sadly though, Coulson wasn't in it a whole lot.
No.
So, which I guess maybe may or not make sense, given his rank at the time. And actually I didn't, so I was kind of worried about it for a minute, because I was like, wait, are they, well, I thought before it was brought out the fact that they were actually with SHIELD, I was like, well, wait, who are they with? Are they with like the FBI or something? And then it finally brought up later on and halfway through the movie, well, not halfway through the movie, but later on, I was like, okay, so it is SHIELD. So I was
they definitely flashed the ID pretty, like once we establish that they're in the movie, they flashed the ID pretty, like right there in that sequence.
Well, so when it first came up, they flashed it, but we didn't see it. So we didn't get to see the fact that he was with SHIELD until it got brought up later on.
Oh, okay. I could have sworn that he said it though.
He did.
Oh,
like
okay.
It was a few couple scenes later.
Okay.
When he said it, but
I got you. I say what you mean. Like, yeah, not when they're whatchamacallit, when they're God, I want to spoil it. Yeah, try not to spoil it. Yeah, when they first hit the screen, you're not sure.
Right. So that was like a thing. I was like, okay, so now we've established that, but there were some scenes that still,
right,
whatever they say. See, effects aside, like the action was great. I mean, just to kind of move this along a little bit, like the action was pretty much great. I've seen people say that there was a buddy cop vibe to it, and I could see that.
Oh yeah.
So with Fury and Carol, which was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
This was I'm not gonna say. Well, we haven't seen the movie yet because it's not out yet. Which will, but if we will in a few minutes, I don't think it's going to be quite the comedic take as the other Captain Marvel movie is going to be.
I think that one's a little over the top.
Well, we'll see when we get to that point. But yeah, it seems like from the trailers. But
exactly, unless they're showing us all the jokes, and then we're just going to be disappointed. But I hope,
and that's going to be that's going to be a problem if that's the case.
Right. So, I was so very, very glad that bad things didn't happen to a lot of the supporting characters.
Yes. Yes.
And you see how broadly I characterize this, because I was very worried that certain supporting characters were going to be
I am right there. I was exactly, because especially
sacrificed for the sake of the movie. And knowing that they come out of it, I'm just like, good.
I had that same thing because I was so worried. It's like, oh Lord, please don't let whatever happen in this episode. This is like, oh come on, don't do that.
Yeah.
I will say, however, speaking of this is a slight spoiler, but it's not. We do, and this is probably jumping ahead slightly a bit, but we do get to find out some things that we have. We found out about a couple of things that we have previously known about in the MCU. In fact, starting out the MCU in the beginnings of the MCU, let's put it that way, that we did not know how that happened, which one of them slightly anticlimactic, but played to an effect. I was like, okay, we'll let that go.
Right. I know what you're talking about. I actually had a note on that. I'll let that one, like, we don't want to spoil anything.
Right.
I wanted to just, what do you think of the other actors like Jude Law?
So
their performances.
Jude Law did all right. It's weird because for some strange reason he is not Paul Bettany, and I know he is British, if I'm not mistaken. But for some strange reason, I kind of confused the two, and they don't look that much alike.
Yeah, I was about to say they don't, but okay.
So, but that being said, for some strange reason, I was like, was he gonna turn into Vision? But like I said, that's just me being stupid. But I think he did all right. There is a part. The part that I appreciated the most was his and Carol's last interaction. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
But that said, and knowing the run of the book that character was taken out of, it's like, okay, not necessarily the same, but I think they still put apart the points.
Sure.
And so they took some liberties with that character in that run, in the comic run, but it still worked out all right because, like I said, no one really know much about this section of the. A lot of this is fresh game in the MCU anyway, so a lot of it doesn't matter. If they were going to do it properly, they would have had to build up a whole lot of other stuff, which wouldn't have.
All right. So we're going to wind down our talk, but I wanted to do a couple of quick rapid fire points. I don't know if you want me to spin it up, but
do it.
All right, we're going to spin up. We're going to do rapid fire points on Captain Marvel so we can move on to our comic book reviews.
A little bit of that going on in the movie too, but that's
all right. So I wanted to say that the music was consistently good.
Yes.
Definitely brought up lots of good memories. I wanted to also mention that 90s era tech will make you laugh and groan,
especially if you didn't live through it.
Right, because it'll make you laugh and groan at the same time if you live through it. So there are some nice points on that. It was cool having some insider, as a comic book fan, information as to what a certain alien name is and what that means, because I heard from people around me in the movie theater, what's a Blanken? So that Blanken rhymes with what I'm talking about. So that was nice because it was a surprise to them, and I was just waiting, with bated breath.
So I know what you're talking about, and I kind of clapped when they actually said the name,
right?
And I was like, well, it was like because I was like, I know that not that many people knew about that character or that species, whatever the case may be. But anyway,
sure. And a couple of last quick ones. I'm probably in the minority, but damn it, I wish they hadn't screwed up Inhumans, because now that the Kree have been kind of established in the MCU, since whatchamacallit, since Agents of Shield on TV, since Captain not whatchamacallit, since Guardians.
Yeah.
And now that they're really like front and center, this would be a perfect time to have Inhumans introduced. You know, they could have waited, you know, like where Eternals is kind of being played up, they could have waited to really do Inhumans now. This is when they could have dropped them in. So that's what I wanted to make. And
but that whole, hey, we can't do mutants, so we gotta do something.
Right,
so.
exactly. That was like a rush. I think that was, you know, that decision was rushed way too fast. Because I would love to see Black Bolt in full costume, you know, on the movie screen. Like, there's still hope. There's still
I'm about to say there is that series.
Right. And I think that pretty much takes me through my rapid fire points. What do you got?
Let's see. Like going back to what I said earlier, I do like and appreciate the fact that Marvel was still a factor. The way they were a factor was a basic, not only a dual role but kind of a triple role in a sense,
right?
Because they kind of streamlined two different characters. I know from KLIQ the Comics run, there was a character that they were going to put in a movie that I still think the Marvel character here
kind of exactly. I definitely agree with that. That's who I thought it was.
Yes, exactly. And it was like there wasn't much that could tell you different, and I still think that that was the case. Without, you know, the backstory and the history between the two characters, and, you know, as known in the comics. The action was good. The buddy cops news was good. There was a couple of times where there was and I don't know if this could have been the crowd I was in. There were the laughs from the audience were in some weird places.
Okay.
From a section of the audience, and I don't know if that was like, what, are these people drunk or you know, whatever the case may be. But a lot of outside of that, there was a lot of other stuff that was like, okay, yeah, this is well placed. Like I said, the 90s era was pretty good, and something else I was gonna bring. It was light without being overly crazy with it.
Right. Like we've seen too many laughs, you know, like Guardians 2. You know, there was a nice balance to this, and I felt like it was a locomotive that was slowly picking up speed, and I think that's a really fair
and probably perfect
movie. Right, and like you said, you know, and you know exactly what you said, and like I was saying earlier, it's the hero's journey. You kind of have to get through that to get to the point where you're establishing the hero.
Right.
Just real quick, you've seen news about this, and it's not really a spoiler, but make sure you're in your seats before the movie starts, because that's where the tribute is.
Oh yes,
Stan Lee, and it's beautiful.
It is awesome. Yes, I was like, oh, and matter of fact, people were clapping when we
totally clapped. We totally clapped once we realized there was because you see it immediately. Once you realize there's something different, everyone's in hushed tones, and then, you know, like once it ends, that's when everyone clapped.
I was like, oh, that was well done. I was like, okay, because first I was like, what? Oh,
right.
Okay.
Right. And mild spoiler, Kevin Smith had to love the actual cameo that Stan makes.
Yes.
So that's, you know, like if you think really hard, you might figure it out, but once you see it, you'll laugh and you'll realize why he appreciates it.
And speaking of actually cameos, and speaking of KLIQ the Comic, I don't remember seeing her name in the credits.
I wasn't looking, sorry.
Like, because they did the special thanks, but from what I heard, and I don't know if this is true, I saw like Jim Zub said that there was a cameo of her in the movie, and I missed it if that was the case.
I missed it. Honestly, the only movie where I actually saw the comic creator cameos was Thor, the first Thor, because I remember seeing J. Michael Straczynski, because I had seen him at a con, so I recognized him. He was in the scene where they're trying to pull Mjolnir out of the pit.
Right.
And I remember seeing Walt Simonson is at a table in Asgard, dressed as an Asgardian. At the end of that, when they're like around the table eating, and I remember seeing him. But other than those two, it's hard for me to really pick out, the creator. So I'm going to look for.
And now, if you know what Carly Sue looks like, she's a very noticeable person.
Right, and it's her
hair, exactly.
Now
So
that I think about it, it's supposed to be on a scene that's in the trailers. It's not in. I don't think you actually see her in the trailers, but it's one of the famous scenes in the trailers that involves hitting an old woman.
Right. And
my brain wasn't focused on that. She must be in there.
So, and exactly, and I was like, obviously you do a sweep, whether whether you're looking for people or not, you kind of do a sweep. It's like, because you never know. And again, the Stanley cameos kind of, they point that out, but nevertheless, it was like, you never know. So, and yeah, that was probably more than likely the scene, and I totally missed it if that was the case.
Yeah.
So to kind of bring this on home, and actually, I'm not spoiling. Obviously, stay after the movie because there's a mid-credit scene and end credit scene. Right. So, I guess real quickly, what did you think of those?
I liked it. It's hard to know when they fall in time, or at least the first one, the mid-credit, like exactly how much time has passed.
I would argue about the second one. Well, we kind of know, but
right. The second one, yeah, exactly.
We have a frame, but we don't. We can kind of assume that it wasn't that far out because, there's a scene without giving it away. There's a well, we can assume a couple of things going into the credit scene, but we still don't know because it wasn't specifically stated.
Right, and I think what Roddy Cat, I mean, you have to understand there's certain objects in the MCU that have, let's put it this way, they've traveled quite a bit since their introduction in the MCU, and this particular object,
we know where it got from.
Exactly. What I was going to say is, it's traveled between movies, and this sort of fills in a gap.
Actually, and brings it technically back to the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of brings it back into the possession of a particular group of people. So,
yes. And then you're left to fill in some things.
Exactly.
Going back 10 some odd years or so. Let's see. So the mid-credit ones was obviously the one that sets up, going into the next movie, which is Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it for the most part, but at the same time, there was a part of it that I was like, really? Just pop up, huh? Like, not just like no grand entrance or anything.
I was more than okay with that.
It was cool, but it was like
more than okay with that.
Yeah, I was expecting a little bit more. It was like, just a little bit more to it. But and maybe Endgame may I don't know.
I think the surprise factor more than anything was what they were going for. So
I mean, it wasn't. It would have been more of a surprise if they hadn't put that in there. Let's put it that way, because obviously there needed to be a bridge to movies, and that would have been the bridge,
right?
And that was the bridge actually going, coming out of Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be shocked if they hadn't. But at the same time, I was like, okay, just boop.
Right.
But it was still like up until that point, it was like, okay, yep, here we go. This is, and then, all right, cool.
Right.
And here we are.
Exactly. All right. So that, we went a little bit at length on that, but we definitely, I think, stuck to our guns and didn't spoil too much.
Yeah, surprisingly.
So I would recommend the listeners and viewers of the Comic Book Chronicles to go out and watch this movie. It's worth your time. It's a lot of fun.
And you don't want to be treated like diagonally cut toast.
Right. And if you've been listening, bear with the movie, because it is a hero's journey, and it doesn't start with the hero being, kind of running on full cylinders. So.
It actually kind of jumps around slightly, but it kind of falls into place. So, going back to a particular piece of movie, music that they use, not surprising, but you have also heard this piece of music in other Marvel properties, in another set of Marvel properties specifically. And I thought, it was like, well, I guess they got to get that money out of that, get their money out of using that. So,
Which
from a well-known 90s band that I'm sure a lot of people like, I'll just leave it at that.
Well-known 90s band. Now you got me thinking, because I'm trying to go through all the music. We may have to talk about this after the show, just so I don't spoil anything.
But that being the case, let us move on and get to the comic books of the week.
Comic books of the week.
And we'll
at the Hall of Justice.
A little bit of brevity, but not necessarily rapid fire. At least up until the point, because actually mine is probably rapid fire anyway. We're going to start off with Avengers No Road Home #4.
Sure. Well, you had some decent thoughts on this.
I mean, and possibly could have been said in rapid fire, but yeah. So this is the issue where we get the backstory on the main baddie and her crew,
sure,
and their backstory. So obviously there's a mythological bent to this, from the Greek pantheon and the dealings therein with that. So we get flowing through that whole thing. And a lot of a good bit of exposition, although it's not wall-to-wall text like some other writers that we know of, and
right. But there's a lot of it because it was helpful for me because I've been a little bit put off by the story so far because it's another heroes chasing after stones at the ends of the universe, and I kind of like that. Yeah. Right, and I kind of like that this issue had enough exposition to to reset the stage and kind of fill us in. There's a line at the end of the issue by the Hulk, and I was telling this to Roddy Cat earlier, that reminds me of a Ray Charles song that was made famous a second time in the 1980s during an episode of The Cosby Show. Mm-hmm. So folks of a certain vintage who remember that and remember the featuring of a particular Ray Charles song with the entire Huxtable family.
Because this time is the right time.
Exactly. There's your hint. So that was a great callback.
Yes. And actually, speaking of that last page, I said in my notes that the last page could have been a velvet painting.
Like a velvet painting on a scroll, right?
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Because of what you get to see. It was like I felt sorry for the poor horse. That's all I was saying about that. But at the same time, I was like, well, hey, it's
sure.
It's not a natural horse, so sure. But yeah, there was definitely some velvet painting vibes with that last page.
Right. You want to stick to Avengers? Let's do Avengers 16.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do Avengers 16 while we're there.
I actually have this as a potential click of the week because I really like the developments of this issue. It really moved a lot of the moving parts of the story further because it moves the current Dracula Vampire War storyline along.
Yes and no. I'm like, yes. So we get to one place, but then we're adding a whole nother wrinkle that pretty much, adds more to the mix. But
right. But ultimately, we're almost at the climax of the particular storyline because I from the last page of the book, I saw that this storyline is going to end. The Dracula storyline is going to end in the next issue.
I would hope so because I can't imagine them having to drag this out too much longer. Not saying it's been bad, but it's like I can't see how much legs this thing would have, and it does definitely color potentially given a throwaway line in a couple of panel going forward something.
Well, and another great part of this book that I really liked is that it threw in some Ghost Rider character and mythos development to boot because we really haven't seen too much of Robbie Reyes's character development because his solo title got canceled. So now we're getting it in here in Avengers, and the Ghost Rider mythos is being developed as well because. And mild spoiler alert here, very mild, because if you didn't read Damnation, an element of that pops up.
Which was telegraphed I think during the course of this issue specifically.
Oh,
but
definitely, because it wasn't. I was about to say this is definitely not what you were expecting at the end of last issue, but over the course of this issue, definitely, it was definitely strongly implied that this is what was happening. And I would say that this is definitely not new reader friendly, but I think that it would actually entice new readers to hunt down previous issues because I really liked some of the developments in the book.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much all that could be said about that.
Alrighty.
I think I would imagine if things follow up like I believe them to be, Blade's involvement with the Avengers is probably going to end also with the next issue also.
I agree, because
I can't imagine you know.
Yeah, if there's no vampires, he's not on the team.
Exactly. He's usually singularly focused, and the last time he's had dealing with the Avengers, a similar thing happened. And come to think of it, I think it was Al Ewing writing that self-book. So, well, Jason Aaron was writing this, but regardless, I'm fairly certain. Regardless, that's neither here nor there. We'll find out. So going to actually, another book I think we both read. Going into, and we'll round out Avengers 16. There was something about that this issue that made me think, I'm kind of slightly surprised that Robbie's not with the Champions, because he's young enough to kind of run with that crew. But I mean, obviously, they would probably. But for some strange reason, this issue had me thinking. I was like, I wonder why he's not running. Why he hasn't run into the Champions by now? Or
it's not a little too dark for the Champions.
I don't know.
I don't
know. What's going on in the book now or what's coming up?
Not being racist either. He's not. The character is a little dark.
No, but no, they got darker folks than Champions. And actually, so speaking of, let's go ahead and get into Champions.
Right. So, so in Champions number 3, finally, the rest of the team may be let in on the dirty secret of why they're all still alive.
Well, at least one pertinent member that was affected by it.
Right.
Although I will say off the bat that this isn't there either, but the cover is kind of misleading.
It's probably premature, to be honest.
Yeah, basically.
I was also going to add that, and much in the same vein as what we were saying earlier about Ghost Rider's character development in Avengers, it's kind of cool that Sam Alexander's story that was developed in his own solo titles not being left alone to languish.
Which I'm just, because I know you read that book. I assume the character that shows up is from that book and not something that I missed up from Champions.
From what I remember, yes. I don't remember it that clearly, but from what I remember, yes.
So, get into a little bit of meat of so after Brand New Day happens for the Champions,
their version.
Yes. The Champions version of Brand New Day ends up happening. Miles still got a lot of guilt. Amadeus knows about it also, so they're kind of sharing it. They're kind of throwing in some bits with Sam Alexander, who has nothing to do with that particular part of it, but they're throwing this in as something that's probably either going to run along with or get taken care of after or during. I don't know. Obviously this is since this is coming up and the team is kind of involved, and there are a lot of the teams.
They're in the middle of a bunch of different things.
Exactly.
Also,
it's kind of a weird that it cut to that. I was like, okay, well, this happened, and then the thing with Miles, Miles kind of went off and done his other thing, and then it was like, no, we're just gonna cut that and then get to this, which is realistically probably the meat of, the meat of at least part of this arc. Because I know Zubs kind of said like, nah, we're gonna put the Champions through some stuff.
Sure. I liked your note. It reminded me that there is a direct reference to what's happening to the X-Men in this book, and it's nice to see continuity work like this.
And I love the character. So the character of the newer X-based characters, the one that shows up in this book,
right,
is kind of one that I liked.
I'm glad to see her, appear.
Yes, exactly. So I was like, so spoiler alert, folks.
Spoiler alert. Here it comes.
Soraya, can't remember her last name, but basically Dust shows up in this issue.
Right. This is a character in the new X-Men book.
Yes.
Right? And
well, she wasn't one of like, she's not like with Rockslide of them, but she was kind of before them.
I can't remember
new X-Men wise, but yeah.
So, but yeah, that character shows up, and part of me is disappointed that she's not running in the pages of Uncanny because of what's happening.
They addressed that in this as to why that was, or why at least why she wasn't with them when whatever happened. Because a lot of that stuff I still don't know what happened with
Nate, with X-Man, and with
I know enough that happened, so but not what actually went down. So, but they do address the fact that why she wasn't there,
right? Why she didn't get caught up in that, right?
Exactly. But yeah, I would agree. It was like, and granted, I'm not really reading Uncanny, so I'm probably the least one to say it. But yeah, it would be nice to see this character in probably that book a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the thing about it was when the thing got brought up that brought her into play, I was like, that was weird. They were bringing some X-Men. Then I thought about it. I was like, all right, there was an X-Men with them for Runner with, and well, as we already know from what we've talked about, we'll join them again at some point. And I'm sure maybe possibly that's going to lead into this. I mean, this is going to lead into that possibly.
Right, because that's a War of the Realms.
Yeah.
Right. That's only a couple months away. It's only a month away now.
A month away, yeah. Right. So I was like, okay, so this is not outside the realm of the possibility, but it was like, oh, Warrington, why are they bringing? Oh. Mm-hmm. And then this person gets brought into play, and then of course, like with what we already know. And like, granted, if we did not already know from solicitors and whatever that, there's going to be running from a former member,
right,
road up, then that'd probably be a little bit different. But we do know this, nevertheless.
You want to talk about Immortal Hulk number 14?
Yeah, that's pretty much that on Champion. It was a good issue. I enjoyed it for what it was, and some shit's going to go down next issue.
Okay.
Immortal Hulk number 14. So I have in my notes that there was a particular look that Betty gives during the first few couple of pages of this book that could kill a Joker.
Sure.
And credit to the art team for that, because it was like, wow, that is a hard look.
Mm-hmm. That's Kyle Hotz or Holtz, and the art in this was surprisingly it was so fitting. Yeah. It was dark, it definitely evokes the horror theme of the book. It's definitely horror based. Lots of shadows and just the way the characters are placed, very dark and ominous.
Now that said, I guess if there was a nitpick about it, it's like I didn't realize that was Tony.
Yeah, it's a little the likeness, without without the direct reference of who it was. Yeah, that was kind of tough. But otherwise, I really liked the overall art in the book.
Yes. So Betty Ross, longtime Hulk supporting fan and wife of one Bruce David Banner. Actually, wait, is it actually David? Regardless, one Bruce Banner.
I thought it was Robert Bruce Banner. No,
is it Robert? Yeah. Is that what it was in the show?
No, in the TV show.
In the show.
It was David Banner.
Yeah, but I can't remember if it was.
I think it was David Bruce Banner.
David Bruce Banner, yeah. But regardless, hey, old 70s show, folks. Not the Immortal Hulk, the Incredible Hulk. Anyway, so Betty gets reunited with Bruce after the events of last issue. I suppose their initial meeting was Well, when I saw it, it was like, that's unexpected because you would think she'd be kind of peeved. But at the same time, this is a more wizened, I guess, Betty than we've seen in the past.
Right. We're definitely not talking about, fresh, freshly created Betty Ross. We're talking about post-Reg.
Right. Or Damsel in Distress or 80s cartoon Hulk.
Exactly.
Version like this bit, and actually, and now that I think about it, and as I said in my notes, it was like the look Betty Gray couldn't be any harder if she were still Red She-Hulk, which she was. And again, she did spend some time as a Hulk, and they kind of bring that up in here.
Right, and minor spoiler.
Yeah.
Right, so there's a lot of things that pop up in here that are contributing to the changed mythology of the Hulk. And there's, it obviously plays into the new rules that the Hulk plays by under Al Ewing's guidance in this new Immortal Hulk series.
But it also brings up a question or two also, which we will get to. But go ahead.
Of course, because, it raises those questions because does this affect all of the characters that are
right?
This particular aspect that has been really been one of the driving forces in this story, and some bad things happen to one of the supporting characters that we were just talking about. Mm-hmm. And we're not 100% sure that there's any finality in this because
it doesn't seem like it.
Right. Exactly, because of what we were just talking about.
And that being said, but it also brings up in two other cases, because this issue is taking place at and after the funeral of one Thunderbolt Ross.
Right.
Who, as they said and have recapped in a couple of ways, has been dead before.
Right.
Due to one means or other. And weirdly, I almost forgot that he was Red Hulk also. So that may or may not play into some things. And so I asked the question in my notes, was like, well, is he really dead? Because we have asked this question before, and I did not know when he had died, which please don't at me about that. Folks.
Captain America, we talked about it. That's why he's
we talked about it. But I was like, so I'm just gonna sit here and say right around that there's comic book history has changes a lot, and there's a lot to kind of keep back of, and can't keep track of every character.
Right, it's definitely hard for us, and with a four-headed monster, it's still of our show, it's still hard to keep track of. So,
if your favorite character, if we can't think of everything about your favorite character, it's not because it's like, well, we can't keep track of the time. Exactly.
So, I wanted to say that it was kind of funny to see the character Bushwhacker kind of feeling himself, and
you know what it was?
Yeah, Bushwhacker. He's been a supporting character in this for a while. The guy who can make a gun out of his arm. So
right, because I was like, I knew the guy looked familiar, but I thought for some sort of reason I was thinking he was created for this arc or whatever the case may be, and I totally blanked out the fact that, and I don't think I've ever heard him being called by his actual name.
Bushwhacker. Oh, you mean like his real name?
Yes.
Not Bushwhacker. Yeah, I don't know. The character does go back a while.
Yes.
Definitely goes back a while. So, but in any event, it was kind of funny to see him feeling himself in this book. And I'm like, dude, you're facing off against the Hulk.
Almost like he was having a break, though. I kind of wonder if that's going to come into something else.
Maybe.
Because it was like the way he was repeating what he was saying, and it was like, is he about to have a break or something? Or is he like traumatized from the stuff that happened, the last couple of issues, which could possibly be the case, Yeah,
I think so.
That made him do what he do.
Right, and at the end, we have a very familiar Gamma-based character reappearing in the pages of the Incredible Hulk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As a matter of fact, last seen in recent issue of Winter Soldier. Now that I think about it.
Oh, I'm behind on that. I got to read that.
Yeah, so because that was the last, because it was like, I was like, I guess that shouldn't be a surprise that he's shown up because he is around. So all right, well, there you go. So yeah, that's his Immortal Hulk questions about. But oh yeah, wait. So the one other question that this brings up. So like I said, there was another character that got brought up that is also dead. That we also saw in the last couple of issues, but they made it sound like the death was final. But there's also a character that has been around and has played a Hulk type figure in the past also. So now I'm kind of wondering if that death is actually true. And that was another death. I was like, wait, when did he die? Because I don't remember that at all. Because they mentioned it's like, well, you know, this happened. Oh, actually, I think I do remember when he died. Now that I think about it,
Secret Empire.
Yes, it was during even though I didn't really read that much of it, but I do remember that happening, or I remember hearing about that happening.
Right.
So,
okay.
Anyway, that's that.
Anything else, or you want to do rapid fire?
That's it. I think we can rapid fire this.
Here we go again.
I guess I'll go ahead and do mine. Meet the Skrulls #1. This was, I guess, speaking a rightly placed time for this book, being that Captain Marvel just came out, which has nothing to do with the movie, mind you. However, there are some things that could be possibly like, hey, that seems seemingly familiar, sort of, to Captain Marvel, because so this is about a quote unquote family of Skrulls that is undercover, seemingly. So okay, so it's a weird book because it's not a weird book, but it is a weird book because there are Shades of Visions miniseries that are coming across it, but it doesn't seem nothing like that. Well, to a lot of points is nothing like Vision's book, except for the fact that it's based around a family,
right?
Trying to fit in, but that was a little bit more close in with the family and not necessarily anything out in the world. This one has basically a family, quote unquote, of Skrulls on a mission, which sounds historically infiltrating, doing things for what reason? I guess we're going to find out. There's a certain project that they're trying to find out a whole bunch of information about, and so they're infiltrating as a family to try to figure out what is that. Which brought me to the questions like, I didn't think around this time Skrull detection would be any kind of an issue, but then I realized we have had what seems to be rehashing of history in the last few years. We've had a secret war, we've had another civil war, and what comes after civil war? A secret invasion.
Yeah.
So that kind of brought me to that, and kind of made me groan because of that. But we don't know necessarily where this book is going. But all we know is like, hey, we see this family, on a mission, doing, trying to find out what's up. But we also see some what looks to be a counter to this family that's probably they're going to meet up with after a while. And I guess the other thing in my notes is that I'm kind of surprised Skull Krill Crew didn't show up at some point, which is the first issue, and I think this is like only 5 issues or so. So who knows? Maybe they're going to be a part of this, maybe not. Young Justice #3. So, are you reading this?
I skimmed it. I didn't finish it.
Okay, so we found out basically what's happened to Connor Kent, aka I don't know when that super was. It's just the Superboy of a different time. Not necessarily the Connor Kent of the Young Justice animated series, but kinda.
Okay.
So we found out what happened to him, why he ended up on Gem World. That was the crux of the issue, apparently. And I'm trying to figure out how old is he in this book. And because I don't know when when he last appeared or disappeared or died or left or whatever the case might be, was he still like a teen? Because we find out that he has settled in on this world and is loving this world, and kind of it's not the one that you would know from his characterization. And then we find out a little bit about where the rest of the team is, which I guess lead into we'll find out a little bit more about that next issue. Justice League 19. So not reading recent issues of Justice League, which didn't seem all that necessary to. Well, it is necessary to know the overall plot, but for this issue, didn't necessarily need to be known. There's some things happened. They needed the help of Mitsuplik. And they've found them, and now they're about to journey into the 6th dimension. And apparently that has happened, and one character may or may not have been led into a trap, from what it seems. But my notes says, I'm guessing this takes place before or during Wonder Twins.
Gotcha.
Because Mitsuplik also shows up there. That's and which is actually the only reason why I ended up reading this issue.
It's a trap.
So
yeah. Nice. But yeah, so the Mitsuplik gets some time in Justice League, and they use them for a reason, and there may be some machinations behind that also. Maybe possibly due to Luthor, or maybe not. We don't know. But that whole crew shows up, and I'm guessing this must be leading into that Day of Villains thing, because that's, even not knowing what's going on in Justice League as a whole, that seems to be a ramping up. And I believe that is it for me.
Okay, so let me rapid fire my books as I scroll up the sheet. Uncanny X-Men number 13. This stripped down X-Men team is fun. The Sal LaRocca art looks sharper than it has in a while. It's reminiscent of his work on Fraction's Invincible Iron Man. The Dark Beast is this X-Men group's first target, but we see other X-Men creating a situation that must be handled. Is the anti-mutant vaccination really effective, or will they find out that it was all a ruse? So there's that. Amazing Spider-Man number 16.HU. First, why is there strange numbering for this? The story is pretty integral to the main Hunted storyline. So, you would think that most multiple issue story arcs would just go in sequence without the numbering construct. This
because it's another $4 they can get off of people.
It just it's number 17. Just make it issue number 17. Whatever. Right. So, in any event, we find out how Spider-Man gets pulled into the Hunted storyline through the Black Cat. Shout out to the artist on this, Iban or Iban. I'm sorry if I'm going to butcher your name, because I've heard it pronounced both ways, but it sounds like this guy might be of Latinx, Latino heritage. Iban Coello. It's Coello.
Coello?
Yeah, but I don't think it's Coelho if it's someone from a Latin background. So the art in this is phenomenal. It's really, it's really beautiful, and it's well rendered. So I give this artist a lot of credit. Maybe follow him on Instagram. So great work on this. It was definitely a good chapter in this Hunted storyline. Batman number 66. This is the Catwoman edition of the current Nightmares collection of stories. This was entertaining. It's a different view on Batman's war on crime, but it's one that we as fans of the superhero genre are familiar with. It's a trope. The trope is that it's hard for heroes to have happy social lives. And last but not least is a potential click of the week for me. The book is Ronin Island number 1. This is a creator-owned book by Greg Pak, and I want to get the artist name correct. It's Greek. It's Giannis Milonogiannis. So,
okay.
Yeah. Shout out to Giannis Antetokounmpo for teaching us how to all say Giannis. And it's a great story. The story setup is very friendly for new and especially younger readers. For a first issue, the premise, like I said, is interesting, and I look forward to seeing. There's 3 different cultures being represented here, talking about Korean, Japanese, and Chinese, and I'm looking forward to seeing them both clash and blend over the course of the story. It makes me think of the scene from The Walking Dead, the TV show, where Daryl tells his still racist brother Yondu, no, not Yondu, but you know what I'm talking about. That Glenn is Korean, not Chinese. He actually said, if I remember correctly, he's Korean. You know, it made me want to pick up my copy of Oriental Adventures D&D also. So there's
Wait,
that.
Okay, you'll have to tell me what that is afterwards.
Oriental Adventures D&D?
Yeah.
That's going back to like 2nd edition, but you know, and they had a 3rd edition book too. But anyway,
that was in 2nd edition. Like I remember playing 2nd edition, but I don't remember in the
we'll
Spanish.
go over it. No worries.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
anyway,
so that's that for my rapid fire, and
I remember we talking about this book when when we had news about it. We were kind of a little iffy on it based on the title, but once we found out what the book was about,
yeah, this is
when we brought it up.
Right, it's definitely in the spirit of you know, Greg Pak's recent works that are a little bit, they're not completely skewed to younger readers, but they're definitely young reader friendly. So this is definitely something you can introduce to a younger reader.
Cool. Clicks of the week.
Here they come.
We have both Dirt's and Tim's, individual clicks, and Dirt's is the Never Going Away. No, I'm just kidding. Doomsday Clock
Never going to end, right?
Yes.
Doomsday Clock number 9.
It will be here till Doomsday.
And what PCN_Dirt tells us, in our internal conversations, is that we can actually all jump on the Doomsday Clock story with this issue and not have to worry about anything that came before.
Which that's kind of a shame and very telling.
Right, we are at number 9, and we can actually jump on now and be okay.
Right, of 12 issues. So, you know, this time next year that should be over with.
No.
And also we have Tim's click, which was the aforementioned Amazing Spider-Man number 16.HU.
Cool. I definitely like that. I'm still thinking. Do you have yours at the ready?
Nope.
Oh man, we're both still thinking, because I've got a couple of candidates, and to be honest, the Uncanny X-Men issue, you know, brought back a lot of warm feelings, because if you have seen some of the solicits, they go back to some classic costuming, and they actually do it for you know, they actually have like a named reason for doing it in the issue, and it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I saw an article on that. I think may actually even be in the news section about that. But
all right. So yeah, like I've got a tough call, because I actually liked a lot of the stuff I was reading this week.
Yeah, and I'm mad because there's like 2 or 3 books that I didn't read that I really wanted to read, because I've heard good things about a couple of them, and one I just normally read anyway. Well, this is one I've heard some good things about, and the other 2 I was like, well, I was reading anyway, and one of them's ending. So that's being the case.
Yeah, we're both still struggling with this. I mean,
yeah. It's weird because, like, yeah, like you said, there's some good stuff this week. Like the Young Justice was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a bunch of potential clicks of the week named. I didn't even put that designation next to Uncanny, and I actually really liked what I was reading. I think
good. Champions is setting up something good, you know.
Sure. Man, what am I gonna go with? What, you know, I really liked a lot of this stuff this week. You know what? I think I'm gonna back up. Man, what did I? Oh, goodness gracious!
Tony did reference Transformers in Immortal Hulk number 14. That's kind of a sway. Which I thought that was funny. I forgot to bring that up when we talk about Immortal Hulk, but
right. Man, what am I gonna pick? What am I gonna pick? This is bad. We're gonna start the ticking clock again.
Even Justice League had a decent moment when some characters show up, and I'm like, well, when a character comes back and then some, you know, what happens after that? It's like, huh? Okay. But you know, moments don't make the matter. They do make the matter, but they don't make the book. Actually, they do. Whatever. I don't know what I'm saying.
Depends. I was about to say it depends.
Yeah. How deep is the moment?
Man, I can't believe we're both struggling with this.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice problem.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a nice problem. Like, there's weeks when we're just like, oh.
Yeah, and it's like, well, you got two definites, but it's like which one's going to edge out the other? Oh, that reminds me, Stanford. Does that name sound familiar to you?
Stanford U, yeah.
Yeah.
Stanford,
I mean, in the Marvel universe. In the Marvel universe.
I mean, that was whatchamacallit. We're talking about a character, we're talking about a place in Connecticut.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm sure it is probably patterned after it. Yes, definitely. But is that not where Civil War started?
Not started, but that's where whatchamacallit. I think that's where the New Warriors accident happened.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Which
Yep.
was really the catalyst to Civil War. Yeah.
Right.
So I heard that name, and for some strange reason, I was thinking of the new universe.
Gotcha.
Which was not, and I'm, I don't know, or maybe it was, but I don't think so. So, still stalling for time here.
I know it's terrible. We're both like,
You know what? I'm just gonna brute force one and say Young Justice #3.
All right.
Because I mean that one, like, it was good, but so was some of the stuff from from some of the other stuff, and I can't say that one was the better of everything, but it was a good read.
I got you.
As was the other stuff.
I gotcha. You know what? I didn't even note this in my notes, but I think just because it kind of brought back warm memories with the costuming choices, I'm going to go with Uncanny X-Men #13.
Okay.
As my click of the week, I'm going to type in after the fact PKOTW.
There, so let's see. So that's your click.
Yeah.
In the case, let us move on to the news. But
we have an ad read first, folks. Our first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron. Actually, you know what? Let me change that to Amazon because, damn it, we don't have time for this. Actually, no. Let me just read Blue Apron. I'll save Amazon for later. Blue Apron's meal delivery service delivers fresh ingredients and incredible recipes weekly directly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron, always shipped free to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today.
All right, news. And we start off with a double-sided slice of cinematic news. Hint, hint, for you, because I didn't tell you this beforehand. But yeah,
no, double-sided.
Yes. But we can breeze through this really quickly and start off with Sci-Fi picks up Resident Alien series based on Dark Horse book, starring Wash. For those Firefly fans, which if you are Firefly fans, the shirt I have on would be.
I was going to say that fast 5 times.
So what? You know, right? Yeah, the Firefly. Hey, it's better than Peter Parker appeared to pick up a, which they did play that movie again in the previews, and like I want to see how. I'm pretty sure that took many takes. Anyway, moving right along. So yeah, Resident Alien is described as a twisted and comedic fish out of water story. The show is adapted from the comics by Peter Hogan and Steve Parkhouse. The pilot was directed and produced by David Dobkin of Into the Badlands, which I haven't seen Into the Badlands in a minute. It's a good show. It was a good show anyway. So yeah, it stars Alan Tudyk again, Wash of Firefly fame.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, and a few other people. Oh, hey, Gina Torres, how you doing? Anyway,
All right.
Next.
Next up, to celebrate this week's digital home release of the Oscar award-winning Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse in the U.S., Sony's uploaded the opening 9 minutes of the film to its YouTube channel so that you can watch it at your leisure.
Which, if it seems kind of late and it's something they could have done, you know, when the movie first came out, you're probably right. But at the same time, hey. Which I think they did show a couple. They did show a couple of minutes of the. I mean, because the part that they show is not outside of what they showed in the trailers anyway.
All right. I was gonna say I'm waiting for my Blu-ray.
Yeah, indeed, exactly. Because I started to watch it, I was like, you know what, I could stand to watch a little bit of Into the Spider-Verse again, but I was like, you know what, it'll be out soon.
Yeah, like all you have to do is wait till Tuesday. You'll have a hard copy in hand, so no biggie. Next up,
speaking of the aforementioned Captain Marvel movie, I'm gonna put this in. I'm gonna put this in at the end because I'm pretty sure you will appreciate this. If I can remember where the end is.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you see it. But we'll stick that in there somewhere. Hopefully I get to it. Anyway, Captain Marvel challenge raises over 60K. So the Captain Marvel challenge is a fundraising campaign that was to help underprivileged girls and women go see Captain Marvel, much like they was done with Black Panther previously.
Mm-hmm.
That's dope, and the movie's out, and I'm pretty sure all those folks had a good time, as we did.
Cool.
Which I guess we did kind of. So we're past that point now. Anyway, next.
So next up, Sam Jackson's got a great sense of humor because he admitted he completely made up an entire rumor based on Captain Marvel having the ability to time travel.
And according to this article, was set to has possibly set up one other one, or may not have. I don't know. We don't know if it's that part. I think we previously talked about this. Samuel Jackson came out and said that Captain Marvel time travel, which reminds me of speaking to somebody about the movie last night, but I won't bring it up. And this was during an interview with Brie Larson with I guess it was a radio show or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But regardless, yeah, and she kind of called him on it, and he also he was like, I could also make up some more stuff, and then he basically made another statement, seemingly made another statement that we don't know whether it's true or not.
Gotcha.
Although, wait, actually, it might be. Well, I don't know, because regardless, it doesn't matter. I had to go back and check after this, because now that I think about it, I don't know if it's true. So next up,
that's you.
Marvel seeking openly gay actor for Eternals lead. So they're still doing an Eternals movie in 2020. And why do I smell alcohol?
Nice.
Booze.
The party going on over at Roddy Cat's that we're not invited to.
I'm like, weird. I don't know. There's
right. So
outside that wink line, there's not much alcohol in this house. Regardless, so the studio's looking for reported. So this is still a rumor, so we don't know. But some rumor site says that Marvel is looking for an actor 30 to 49 who physically looks like a superhero to take on one of the Eternals lead roles. I would argue it's probably Icarus, but
I was about to say we're not sure it's Icarus, but it seems like it might be.
Yes, but we don't know that for certain. Also, but it also says additionally, while they're open to actors of all ethnicities, they would prefer the role to go to an openly gay actor, which I don't know what ethnicity has to do with them gay, because they're anyway. That line read kind of weird to me, but you get what they're saying, hopefully. So we'll see how that goes.
Next up, X-Men alum, former Magneto Ian McKellen apologized for controversial comments made about
Bryan Singer.
Comments that were interpreted as defending the alleged sexual abuses. Bryan Singer and Kevin Spacey. So he's now apologized for those remarks.
Right. He says as he was on this podcast. Like, well, like I said, we don't necessarily have to get into it, but he basically said that it wasn't in his intention. His comments were not intended to go like they sounded.
Okay.
And he would never trivialize or condone abuse of any kind, basically. So, next up. The Gifted finale perfectly sets up the X-Men's MCU debut, and as I saw someone on Twitter say, they are never going to use none of that for the MCU, which made me kind of laugh.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, apparently the Gifted, which is a show I've never actually watched, had a finale that does some things. I don't know what's going on in the show or whatever. So
Apparently.
Next.
Mark Hamill now says that Carrie Fisher would actually get a real kick out of her appearance in Star Wars Episode 9 due out this Christmas. Ultimately, they had some footage taken, and they had big plans for footage done, and had big plans for Princess Leia or Command or General Leia in the next next installment of Star Wars, and they had to redo their plans, and apparently with the Fisher family blessing, they were able to move forward, and according to Mark Hamill, it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, basically says she was meant to be more prominent in the third, but obviously, and he was glad that they found a way to do it. And something tells me that she'd get a real kick out of the fact that she had a hit movie years after she left us, because that was just her. I like to think that would please her, but nothing would be better than having her here. That's from Mark Hamill. So, which yeah, going back to that movie, it was like, I'm surprised they didn't just kind of let that go then, but they didn't. So it'll be good and bad to see. Well, it'll be good and kind of bittersweet to see her in the next one, but still be good to see her regardless. Next up, speaking of Star Wars Rebels teases glimpse of 2 beloved characters' futures. Slight spoiler if, like me, you haven't caught up with season 4, which ended last year anyway. So yeah. So basically, there's a Dave Filoni on Twitter put out an image of Ahsoka Tano and Sabine Wren, 2 favorites of mine personally, searching for Ezra, who apparently was lost after the events of the last season. So, all right. Next up.
Okay, next up, there's a report out that the Suicide Squad sequel is going to recast Will Smith's role as Deadshot. And there's a rumor, I don't know if you have it in the...
I don't. Well, I might not have it, but I know there is some other news.
Right. There's a rumor that it's going to another well-known actor. I don't know if you want me to spoil it or not.
Do it. Yeah.
Spoiler alert! He's hosting Saturday Night Live this week.
I thought it was last week.
No, I think it's tomorrow night.
Well, yeah, regardless.
Yeah, we're talking about, I was about to say, he's a Wire alum.
Yes, and also, yes, that's broad, I guess. Look, folks, this is Idris Elba. You've heard this. And he's also in that Hobbs and Shaw movie playing the same role as he did in Star Trek Beyond, but that's we said
I'm not referring to that.
Hey,
I'm referring to him as Heimdall, for God's sake.
And Heimdall, of course. So, hey, if that ends up being the case, good. But at the same time, as I said on Twitter, I was like, yeah, because they couldn't find some new guy to instead of just going to the 1 or 2 same people that they always go to.
I know.
But again, it's trouble. It's always a always a pip if that's the case. Anyway, moving right along, we got more Suicide Squad 2 news later on. Rumor: Aquaman 2 may feature this major new 52 superhero group, which would be the others. Of Aquaman and the others.
Yeah, I was about to say I got a reaction to that.
And that was the exact one that I was hoping you would do.
I mean, really?
I mean, it makes sense in given the character, but sure, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. Moving right along.
Next up, Shazam tries his best Superman impression in the latest trailer for his DC solo film. This was a trailer for Captain Marvel last night.
Was it? That's
Yeah,
weird.
it was for me.
I'm trying to remember. I don't think it was for me. No, it wasn't.
All right, so
But I guess it makes sense because the slight side note, there's a internet show called the Wednesday Club. It was on Geek or Sundry. I'm sure a lot of people know about it, and they spoke about the various controversies between, or not controversies, but the sordid histories, the sordid history of Shazam, aka Captain Marvel, and that, you know, some of it I knew, some of it I didn't know of, but yeah, that was a lot that happened in the history of Shazam, going back to the early days with a whole different other company.
Fawcett.
Yes, which is why you see Billy Batson from Foster City, because you know, given his roots. Anyway, back to the trailer. So yeah, the trailer's, you know, like we said earlier, I believe, you know, hopefully, you know, that's not all of the movie. One,
Right.
Two, you know, for some strange reason, I did not. So this article brings up something that I totally didn't realize. That so Diamond Hardsu, who is also in Captain Marvel,
Right,
playing the role that he's played before, and that was another thing that I kind of threw me. It's like, wait, what is he doing in this movie? It was like, oh wait, this is before that other stuff happened. But anyway, he's in this movie as, spoiler alert, he's the Wizard Shazam. I swore up and down I thought that was Jamie Foxx. I do not know why. But now that it's playing in my head, and you know, whatever, because I could have sworn I thought they had gotten Jamie Foxx to play the Wizard Shazam.
Okay.
At least and so all this time I've been going thinking, oh, well, that's him, and I was like, wait, it's not him. So anyway, that's that. Regardless, the trailer's out there. It's a lot of laughs, and hopefully it doesn't give up the whole movie. And
or at least I hope it doesn't contain all the laughs, because that would be sad.
But there's that also.
All right. Speaking of Shazam, next up, the original Shazam television series is heading to the DC Universe app, which I am not going to use to watch.
I feel like I called this up. I know I didn't, and they probably had plans to do this anyway. But I have mentioned before that they should have had this show on there before now. But given that the movie's coming out very shortly, it makes sense for them to do it. Wait, what do you mean you're not going to use the app to watch it?
What, the original Shazam TV series?
Yeah.
Do I need to?
I mean, it's not going to inform anything about the movie, no, but it's a slice of history.
Is it? Okay. I mean, you know, we'll see.
So for those of a certain vintage, you may like, I'm a little older than your Agent 70, and so I remember this when it was originally on
Gotcha.
TV from 74 to 76. And granted, well, actually I take it back. I do remember it, and it was on, but I was like 2-3 years old, so whatever.
You probably saw it in reruns, depending on your
basically. Well, so it was coming on. So it originally came on in 74 to 76, and then couple of years later, they and it went on for a couple of seasons. But they also brought it back with ISIS, the Mighty ISIS.
Okay.
Who also had a live action show, who actually I did not realize apparently started on that show and then came to the comics. But yes, but I actually did, you know, so they brought it back, and I do remember it when it was on CBS, you know, like in the 70s. Like it says 76, so I probably caught it like 76 when they put it together with ISIS.
Gotcha.
ISIS on I guess for some good reason, I don't know.
All I was gonna say, all I would add to that is that I was wondering if maybe they didn't pack, like your local syndicated channel didn't package that together with like the 66 Batman as like an hour-long, you know, like superhero block or something like that.
No. So when I saw it, it was Shazam and ISIS.
Okay.
That was blocked up together. I don't recall even seeing 66 Batman on Saturday mornings. Like this was on Saturday mornings when I,
Oh, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't remember when 66 Batman was on, but I definitely remember it. I don't know. It might have been weekday afternoons, actually, come to think of it.
I probably was because that's what I remember seeing it. But yeah,
Right.
no, this was I remember seeing this on Saturday mornings.
I got you. Because I remember if I'm not, the local syndicated channels would package sometimes the Incredible Hulk as well.
Yes.
66 Batman, reruns. So you never knew. So that's why I figured I'd ask.
Yeah. So like I said, that's just showing my age because like I said, I was like, wow, I remember this show from when it actually was on. So this is ridiculous. So yeah, so this was a live action version of Shazam when aka Captain Marvel, whatever. Like I said, all 3 seasons is on there now because I think it was from last Tuesday when it brought on. So if it is completely dated and loose as far as if the Shazam aka Captain Marvel mythology, but it's fairly loose, but still it's a time capsule of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's worth a watch even for that. You don't necessarily have to do all 3 seasons, but obviously more since it was on Saturday morning, it was more kid focused and therefore probably had the titular lessons of shows of the time.
Gotcha. Alrighty, you got next.
Doom Patrol. Mark Shepard cast as magician Willoughby Kipling. Mark Shepard is a name that I feel like I know, but not from what this article is saying. Probably from. So Mark Shepard is a British-born actor who was in X-Files, Firefly, Battlestar Galactica, probably the redoing, and Doctor Who. Some might know him as Crowley on Supernatural. I do not. But nevertheless, he's going to be on Doom Patrol playing whoever that person is.
Yeah, you got me.
Yeah, because I don't know much about Doom Patrol. Sorry.
Still learning.
Yeah, really.
Alrighty. Next up, angsty Connor Kent / Superboy.
Take the next one also, actually, because it is related.
It's cast as Titans season 2 regular. We're talking about Joshua Orpin, who in the character is paying homage to comic cover in an image.
Yes. So on his Instagram, which is the story, he does the famous. Well, I guess famous.
Yeah, that's from the 90s, people.
Exactly. So you can see at the top of this article a little snippet of the what he's referencing here.
Right.
On his Instagram, he basically.
We're talking about the cover to the Superboy, the first issue of the Superboy title in Reign of the Superman.
Right.
That's in the immediate wake of Death of Superman. So that's the reference that you folks need.
Right. And basically, and yes, this is the same Connor Kent that is in Young Justice, the comic book now, and slightly taked on in the animated series.
Righto. Next,
speaking of Titans casting breaks down hint of a golden age vigilante's arrival. So apparently a leaked casting breakdown describes a new character for the show. Caucasian male in his late 30s to 40s named Jack Cole. And apparently this is a take on Guardian.
Okay.
And yes, that same Guardian that is being played by the Jimmy Olsen of Supergirl right now, or has been. Next up.
Let's see. What comics, TV, movies are coming to DC Universe in March 2019? You'd think I would be interested in this since I actually use it. They're adding more comic books, TV shows, and movies in the month of March. What you can look forward to is apparently Shazam.
That's spoken already.
Let's see what else.
Hey, it's a bunch of Batman stuff.
Batman comic book, Nightfall. Ooh, Nightfall. We're going way back.
Yeah, Hush is on there, which I think has already been on Comixology United Unlimited anyway. So
sure. What you guys really need to wait for is Batman Year One. It's going to hit the service on March 26th.
I've watched that, and I'm like, it was all right.
No, not the movie. I'm talking about. These are the comic books.
Oh, the book. Yeah, right.
We're talking about Frank Miller and David.
That is actually coming. Also, Year One is also the movie is also coming to the service.
Oh, okay. I understand.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. So Superman, Shazam, The Return of Black Adam was on. I could have sworn that was already on there.
You got me.
Because I watched that, or unless that's something different that I saw. But yeah, I could have sworn that was on there already. Anywho, yeah, lots of stuff. New Frontiers on there. That was all right. Doom, I thought was already on there also. Justice League Doom, I could have sworn was already out there. But then again, maybe it's just I was on there recently and saw it. I don't know.
You probably saw it on Netflix, maybe.
No, it wasn't on Netflix, definitely.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, stuff's coming to DC Universe. There you go, in March.
Cool.
I'm going to reuse a joke. I think this is me.
Okay.
But I'm going to reuse a joke that I put on Twitter earlier, and that is that Ernie Hudson is joining CW's Arrow for a special role, and according to his report, and as per the joke, he's seen shit that'll turn you white.
Goodness gracious.
So yeah. So apparently Ernie Hudson, if you you should know that reference. Come on. So Ernie Hudson, y'all know him. Winston Zeddemore, if just beat you on the head with it from Ghostbusters, and a whole bunch of other places. You know the dude. He is going to be playing apparently a 4-star general on Arrow in the coming season, and I guess who has ties to Diggle.
Okay.
And they have a little history with each other.
I feel like he's played a general's role before.
Probably.
It makes me want to search his IMDb after I do the next one.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently, Ernie Hudson's getting on Arrow just in time because the CW's decided to end Arrow with the upcoming season 8.
Right, which apparently I did not know he was in. He was in Super Friends. He was in one of the issues or iterations of Super Friends playing Cyborg. I did not know that. That's weird. And I remember that show. Anyway, but so Arrow's ending with season 8. And in fact, the next article basically goes on with cast comments about it. Brand ambassador Stephen Amell apparently was pretty much set to leave the show anyway before this, and is coming back and recording roles. What it sounds like, and it seems like they decided to end it from what the article suggests. So in the next article, like I said, Stephen Amell kind of does an Instagram post, and he says the titular end of Star Trek The Next Generation, all good things. I'm just going to say he took it from Star Trek to The Next Generation. You can't tell me any different. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, and he goes on to say some other stuff in the video. I didn't watch it. David Ramsey also goes out there on Instagram and says some things, and a couple other people did as well, including Echo Callum, who was also already off the show. So yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, like I said, a lot of the cast that is been there and gone have come out and said some things about it. It probably was about time that show end. 8 seasons is a lot. Arguably 5 seasons is a great run. I stand behind that. So the fact that it went 8, of varying degrees, and being the flagship show of the Arrowverse, sound like they're going to try to bring it out as it came in.
Alrighty.
So next up, new Scooby-Doo movie cast Tracy Morgan as Captain Caveman, which I will spare you my Tracy Morgan impression, of which I have none.
Tracy.
But that sounds weird. Captain Caveman. No, okay. Anyway,
I really hope. I was about to say, it's. I'm just sorry to throw the show off the rails here.
Mm.
But when I read that Tracy Morgan was going to play Captain Caveman, I had the same thought you did, trying to figure out how he's going to alter his voice, which is so iconic,
distinctive. Yeah,
it's so, as you said, distinctive. That's part of his charm. It's part of his act.
Yeah,
That, you know, him transforming it into Captain Caveman,
which you know, I can see it, but at the same time, it's like, huh, weird. But apparently, there's more to this article. As so according to the Hollywood Reporter, there's going to be. It's not just him, but it's a pretty star-riddled affair with this new movie. Frank Welker, you know, he's going to be Scooby again, as he has done long since. You know, let's see, Tracy Morgan's Caveman, Will Forte is Shaggy, Gina Rodriguez is Velma. Let's see, there was some other. Oh yeah, and so that's just like the voice for it. But apparently, this movie is going to be. The story sees the Mystery Inc. gang join forces with other heroes of the Hanna-Barbera universe to save the world from Dick Dastardly and his evil plans. So it's almost like some Laugh Olympics type situations going on here. If you don't remember Laugh Olympics, you're not old enough. Yeah. So yeah. So apparently, yes, it's going to be a big Hanna-Barbera universe thing that maybe they're going to do their own HBU. Which technically already is, because Scooby-Doo's been around forever. So and still plunking out movies.
I gotcha.
Next up,
Topher Grace's cut together the 10 Star Wars movies into a mega trailer. So
yes, folks, that Topher Grace, Spider-Man, that 70 show, that Topher Grace also has done a side guard. So this is not the first time he's done an editing gig where he's edited some stuff together.
Okay,
I can't remember the last one he did. The actual was pretty decent. And it wasn't just him alone; it's he and some other person that did this particular one. And I think the last one also, the last couple that he's done in the past. I haven't watched this yet, but I'm curious to see how they splice all those movies. Like, so according to this, it says 10 movies, 2 nerds, 1 weekend when our wives were out of town. Enjoy. Grace wrote on Twitter. So yeah, it's a big mega trailer for all the Star Wars movies.
Okay,
that's a lot. I need to watch it. But I meant to do it before now, but I didn't. Next up,
you got this.
Oh, Star Trek Discovery renewed for 3rd season, which is good because I just started the 1st season. So I mean, I've been hearing good things about the show. So I'm glad it's going. Hopefully, it makes it. So I will say this. Hopefully, it makes it 7 run, like the 7th season run, like the other shows have done. I mean, barring the animated series and the original series. But you know, all the other shows have gone 7. Actually, excuse me, Enterprise didn't, but that's neither here nor there for that. So hopefully, it makes a 7-year run if it's potential to do that. Because it's, you know, from what I've seen so far, it's been pretty decent.
Alrighty.
Next up.
All right, we have Spillover.
Yes, we do.
So there's a featurette out there that dives into the design of Star Trek Discovery Section 31, which is organization, a mysterious organization in the world of Starfleet.
So yeah, so basically, so Star Trek fans already know this. Section 31 is basically the Skunks Works, you know, the Black Ops, you know, CIA spies, you know, all that kind of good behind the Federation. They get the stuff done. Yeah, they get the stuff done that the Federation can't officially do. You know, with arguably no oversight. You know.
Okay.
So that kind of stuff. So yeah, and Section 31 has you know, throughout various iterations of Star Trek outside of like TOS and whatnot, has been around. I believe they first showed up in Next Generation. It is kind of weird. So, and we know Section 31 has been around for a while, but it's kind of weird. Like, obviously, TOS had nothing to do, you know, had nothing about this because that wasn't a thing back then, or as far as I know, but I'm pretty. And this is set before TOS. Discovery is.
Right.
So some of the stuff that's in the show is kind of weird for that reason, but you know, you gotta take it for what it is. Luckily, Michelle Yeoh's still around because you know, if you've watched even the first couple of episodes of of Discovery, her character doesn't stick around that long, but it has come back on a few different occasions. So that's always dope to see.
Okay.
Anyway, moving right along. Speaking of Star Trek series, Star Trek, Patrick Stewart says Picard series is made for binge watching. So apparently in an interview, Stewart says that the unaccompanied student is being written as one 10-hour story as opposed to episodic standalone narrative of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Alrighty.
So all you binge watchers out there, that's probably good for you.
There you go.
Next.
All right. So there is a second trailer for the new Hellboy movie. And it features glimpses at the main characters, especially David Harbour as Hellboy, and it's apparently very gory and full of monsters.
Apparently,
more of Mila Jovovich's bad guy, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you saw it, Age of 70, but the trailer for Dark Phoenix.
I know it came out. I did not watch it.
Yeah, it was in the preview of my showing.
I walked in when it was on.
Okay.
I walked in when it was playing, so I did catch a couple of seconds.
Yeah. I'm still not sure what to think about that movie, but hey, sure. It is a thing. I don't think we had any news about that, but I just saw it flashing in the thing.
I was about to say it's not something I'm rushing to see.
Yeah, basically. Next up, I don't know why we didn't. I knew why we didn't talk about this. So because when this actually happened, I did not put it in the lineup for some stupid reason because it happened the day before we aired the last episode, or we recorded the last episode, and that is. Wait, is it? Yeah. Anyway, I'll go ahead and take it anyway. I'll take these next two.
Yours. Yeah, this one's yours. So you take the next two. You got it.
I'll take the next two. Yeah. So Luke Perry has died. If I had thought about it last week, would have brought it up then, and for some strange reason I didn't. But yes, Luke Perry of Riverdale, and more known to more people for 90210, has passed. I think we did talk about the fact that he did have a stroke, or maybe we didn't talk about that either. But yeah, he had a stroke and then died not too long after that. Within a couple of days after that stroke. That's right. The stroke was last weekend, Wednesday, and then he died on the following Monday. So he was 52 years old, and the CW issued an official response on Luke Perry's death. And there was a lot of people that were commenting on his death who was heartbroken because that was a lot of women's crushes from 90210 days if you're of a certain vintage.
I was about to say, if you grew up in the late 80s and early 90s, forget it.
Yep.
Forget it.
On that, Riverdale creator dedicates all future shows to Luke Perry.
Cool.
And I don't know if that's in like the series, the season, or the series just whatever going forward. I don't know. But regardless, yeah, there you go. So R.I.P. Luke Perry.
Yes.
Don't you start.
Yeah, way too soon. Like, he was 52. That's a little too close for comfort.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So, our next story is about a Gundam movie, a live-action Gundam movie, which has hired an acclaimed writer.
So this is kind of funny because I think so people did not know this because we talked about this after the show last week about Gundams, which is kind of funny that this was brought up.
Exactly. So apparently, Brian K. Vaughan is going to pen the script for this movie.
Yep. So, and I like how some articles were like, yeah, why the Last Man and Runaways, Brian K. Vaughan. Like, okay, y'all know Saga's a thing and big. Why y'all just going old school? But anyway, so Brian K. Vaughan's is writing the script to this Gundam movie. I don't know how a live action Gundam movie. And granted, I feel like there are some out there.
I mean, listen, it's gonna be.
I'm not talking about Pacific Rim. I'm talking about like actual.
Exactly.
but they might be Japanese productions. Hollywood production of a Gundam movie is I don't know. They don't always do great with.
We'll see.
Of,
we'll see. We'll see how things move along. The hope is that they get some casting correct, and if Brian Vaughn can put together a good story,
one would hope.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes off. Speaking of, Godzilla was another preview that was there. Not necessarily anything to do with. Yeah, that didn't have anything to do with Gundams, but still giant mechs.
I would have liked to see that
because it was interesting. At first, I thought it was like, wait, they're doing another Pacific Rim. But then then it starts showing itself. I'm like, oh, okay. Anyway, next up.
This is you.
Is it? Oh, dang it. The Disney Plus streaming service will offer every single Disney movie. That means they're going to the vault, folks. I know what the vault is.
Yeah, that's where they used to put movies when all they did was release them on DVD.
Exactly. Yes, and they would go back to the vault for an unspecified amount of time, or never to be seen again until the next time they brought the movies back out.
Right. I mean, they created demand for those DVDs because you couldn't find. We'll use The Lion King as an example. That was actually out of print for a long time. That was not available generally on home video. It was on like ABC Family before it became Freeform.
Right.
You were not able to get that until relatively recently. Same thing with Beauty and the Beast. They would essentially create demand for the re-releases of these titles on Blu-ray, and it worked for them. But now with Disney Plus, everything's going to be available.
Yep, everything you get to do. So I'm assuming this is also like 2D stuff, their original stuff, and also Pixar. I would imagine because
I would think.
Yeah. So that's a lot of stuff. I mean, and that's probably not even like their vault. That the quote unquote vault is deep, regardless of it was just their stuff, regardless of their properties of Marvel and Star Wars.
Right.
So that's arguably, if you're a Disney fan, that's arguably a good value.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, if you're a Disney fan, you probably got all of those movies already.
Well, if not all of them, like I said, a lot of them because of what's in and out of print. So I'll use, the example I was going to cite is that I've pulled back on getting Blu-rays of the Toy Story movies because there's a fourth one that's on the way.
Yes.
So I figured
you're waiting to box them all up.
Exactly, but now that they're all going to be on Disney Plus, I'm wondering what to do.
And not only that, but like Incredibles 2 just came out on Blu-ray, but not long after that is on Netflix.
Right.
So, and that's a thing that's probably not going to happen that much longer, but still, exactly. It happens. So yeah, that is something to think about. Anyway, so that's the thing that's still happening sometime this year. Pricing, I think we still don't know, have a full lead about it, but supposedly it's comparable with some of the other stuff that's out there.
Right.
That's Netflix.
Right. So our next story.
So wait. So this is the one I pulled up that's not in the lineup.
Okay.
Because I think that was it for Cinematic News.
What? Not the rumor of the day? There's still like two more.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Did I put it in? Oh, I put it in the wrong place. I'm sorry. Nope. So yeah, go ahead and do those two.
Rumor of the day. Collider spilled some of the possible details about who else may make up the rest of the new Suicide Squad in the James Gunn movie. And we spoke about
that. This includes that rumor of Idris Elba, by the way.
Exactly. We spoke about Idris earlier, and now we're talking about what happened?
Sorry.
What happened?
No, some people have called him, or I think he has called himself a Big Driz, because when he was a rapper or a DJ.
Oh my goodness.
Big Driz from the East.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So that being said, apparently Harley Quinn is also likely to return. It's not confirmed. But now some of the characters who are out are Captain Boomerang, Killer Croc, Katana, and the Enchantress, and in possibly are King Shark, Ratcatcher, Peacemaker, Polka Dot Man, and that's about it so far. You know, that's the rumor.
It's a bit, man, DC's got some real stupid. Anyway,
Hey, what are you gonna do?
yeah, well, I know, embrace it, I guess. I slightly question, but again, I get it. They could still do it because I thought they got rid of Enchantress at the. I thought she was dealt with at the end of the first Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah,
So
she was.
But again, it's still a rumor, regardless. Oh no, it says out, so which means these people are not coming back.
Right, they're not coming back.
Yeah, sorry. So I read that totally wrong. I'm gonna say. And obviously, the other guy whose name escapes me, who was basically Ghost Rider almost.
The flame guy, yeah.
Who was already dealt with halfway through the movie, so we know he's not coming back.
Right.
Who they decided not to name in this article, by the way. So that's right.
I just noticed that.
Anyway, so yeah, that's the thing. It's coming at some point. And don't know Viola Davis or Joel Kinnaman, aka The Wall and Rick Flag are coming back.
Gotcha. And last on our spillover sheet is that Hawkman is reportedly soaring to the DCEU in the Black Adam movie.
Yeah. So again, rumor.
I mean, when are we going to see this Black Adam movie?
Who even knows?
The Rock is churning out movie after movie that are barely watchable. And
oh no.
I mean, I watched Skyscraper. It came on HBO this week. This past week, and I was just like, "Hey."
I mean, everybody's got to do that turn. Not everybody, but every of that ilk has to do that turn. So actually, he's done a couple of them. So let me shut up.
Yeah.
And then of course, Hobbs and Shaw is still a thing, which also was another preview that was.
Oh really?
Okay. Yeah, that was another preview that I saw, which I mean, seen it before. So, but. Last in cinematic news that's not on the sheet, and this will keep me from having to put it on there next week. And as Agent 70 is a fan of this, I thought it was fitting to throw this in there regardless. Andy Serkis joins Mouse Guard adaptation.
Yeah!
So, I mean, of course, Andy Serkis is probably going to be some motion cap, and he's probably going to play a mouse. That's probably not that big of a stretch.
Yeah.
Says here, Serkis is reportedly the story's villain, which also, he plays a good villain also.
He might be a weasel, actually.
If
you read Mouse Guard,
you would know more than I would.
Oh, yeah, there's lots of animals that make appearances in Mouse Guard. So if he's the villain, and I'm thinking of some of the big villains,
it says here.
Oh, it does say in the article?
Yeah.
Okay.
Reportedly. So it says Serkis is reportedly the story's villain, the Guard's blacksmith Midnight.
Oh, so he is a mouse. Okay.
Yeah. So one of the Guard's newest and youngest members who will be called upon. Oh, they're just talking about the crux of the movie. So yeah. So there you go.
Cool. That's exciting.
Yeah, I again have not read. I know you're a big fan of this. I've not read any bit of Mouse Guard at all, but you have glowed about it. I was kind of curious to check it out.
Trust me, it doesn't take a long time to read. It takes a long time to absorb the cool art.
Sure.
So,
cool. That being the case, we're going to push on to the real briefly. To the because luckily there's not enough comic book news, but I will go ahead and mention a couple of things in the clickbait to check out, and that is there's a the truth behind the Jack Kirby Black Panther KKK meme. Spoiler alert: while Jack Kirby did help create the character of Black Panther, it was the writer of the Black Panther book at the time, Don McGregor. Thank you. Wait, same Don McGregor that's doing a lot of Disney stuff now, right? He's doing Uncle Scrooge and all that kind of good stuff, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure. I met Don McGregor at Terrificon last year. He's really cool. I'm not sure if they're one and the same.
I feel like that is, but I don't know. So it was Don McGregor who wrote The Adventures of Black Panther, who the meme should be attributed to instead of Jack Kirby, because like I said, apparently, and I did not know this was a thing because I don't recall seeing this meme that often. But apparently there's a meme that was going around that says, remember when he was originally writing Black Panther, Jack Kirby's editors told him to put more white people in the comic. So in the next issue, he had him beat up the KKK.
Ah, yeah, no, that was definitely Don McGregor.
And that was, so again, apparently this has come up recently. So the writer of this article thought to shed some light on it, which thought it had been dealt with or not. So it was Don McGregor that wrote it, even though Kirby made the character, helped make the character. He did not write the story but it did happen. It just didn't happen that Kirby wrote it.
Exactly. That's attributed correctly.
Correct. And because I don't think Kirby's never did any writing.
He did, but not. I don't think it was for the Black Panther. I think he did New Gods and
yes, right. He did do
he did Captain America. He did a run of Captain America too. It's like that was like the Mad Bomb era.
Oh right, shit. I'm sure someone's gonna bring me over that. Whatever.
It's okay. We back each other up. Don't worry.
Yeah. So anyway, so that is the truth about that, and also a pull list for Monica Rambeau, who was also shown some kind of way in Captain Marvel, by the way. And speaking of going back to Black Panther, Luke Cage and the first black artist to draw both, whose name unfortunately named Billy Graham, or shares a name with, I guess that's right. You know, Billy Graham. And I do remember vaguely on some of this, but some of there was a character study that was done by the New York on the New York Times by Sean Howe, who wrote that book on Marvel a while back. So I guess fitting. Maybe it's in the book. I don't know. I had still never finished that book. But regardless, it's a good. You should go check out that this article. It's called Black Panther, Luke Cage, and the first black artist to draw both. It is in the show notes, so you'll see that. So now let's get to the comic book news.
All righty, transition finally. All right, so first story is DC reveals Batman's bizarre, even by his standards, birthday ritual. So this was actually in
last week's
Detective Comics issue 999. I finally caught up to it last week.
Okay.
You know, I didn't have a chance to read it in time for last week's show, but I did read it soon thereafter, and apparently it's bizarre because Bruce Wayne basically goes into virtual reality and tests himself.
Right, of his own design. Test himself because Bruce has got problems. We all know this.
Pretty much.
And almost gets himself killed because, as the saying goes, whatever doesn't kill you make you stronger, as this article and that book and the issue itself kind of points out. Next up, speaking of bizarreness and Batman's, DC plans for Batman's 80th birthday and to include 1.5 million bats and maybe some comics. And the only thing I can think of is the episode of WKRP where they released the frozen turkeys. And the humanity.
Oh my gosh.
Which, if you're of a certain vintage, you will definitely get that reference. And I'm sure not a lot of you will.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So apparently, and that's happening at so that's happening during South by Southwest, which is happening now actually, or starting. I see people starting to go now, and then it'll be next week because South by Southwest is a 2-week affair, but the interactive version, the interactive part, which is this is going on with, is only like a few days. The 2 weeks is for the music stuff. It's all in total, but the music stuff usually takes a lot longer, and that's usually like 2 weeks. If you ever get a chance to go to South by Southwest, it's crowded and busy and crazy and quite frightening if you're an introvert like me, but it's actually a good time. Marvel Unlimited was first brought up there, back in like '09. I remember being there for that, and then they started doing adding more to the interactive line and doing more comic and gaming stuff.
Okay, cool.
And Austin's cool. So anyway, next.
All right, so some sad news. West Coast Avengers is a sunny, screwy superhero romp that's ending too soon. So it's ending in April after only 10 issues.
Yeah, so this is basically was a review of the last issue, which I didn't get to talk about, but apparently it also brings up the fact that the wackos are ending again.
That sucks that it's only 10. They could even make it to, they should at least make it to 12 so they could have 2 good trades. But
right?
I guess you could still have 2 trades, but with only 5 issues each.
Right. So, yeah, sorry to see it go. Like I had trepidations going into this book, but it turned out to be really good, pretty good, even with all the people that I don't like. So, hey, I'm sorry to see this book go. Next up, speaking of endings, a book I'm not glad sad to see go. Spider-Man Deadpool will end in issue 50.
Yeah, I wasn't reading that.
Yeah, I wasn't either. So I'm like, I take it back. I think I might have read like 1 issue, and that was a while ago, and I don't even know what possessed me to do that one. But hey, it's coming to an end, which is fine because between the both of them, they've got like 30 books. So
all right,
they'll be fine.
Exactly. Next up, apparently there's an artist named Odd Koch who is sharing artwork from a canceled Vision series at Marvel.
Not a canceled one, but the canceled one. The one that Chelsea Kane was supposed to be. Yes.
I understand.
The one that Chelsea Kane was supposed to be writing.
Gotcha.
And this was the artist for that book. And yeah, so here he was on I guess it was on Twitter, where he just threw out some art that of the Vision family tree, as it were, including Holmes and Janet and all the various leaves and offshoots. Wait, Frankie Ray? I don't what is
You know who Frankie Ray was, right?
I know, but what is
I don't know.
But how is she tied into anyway, I'll do some history on that. Don't at me on that either. Like a lot of this is kind of known, but some of that's like Frankie Ray. I didn't know her, anybody in her or anyone in her family had any dealings with anyone remotely close.
Is it through?
I don't know. It's kind of like, so if you're not watching the video, there is what looks to be some tangled trees with the various names of people in the Vision / Pym family tree. So at the top you have like Viv, Vin, Virginia, and Vision is right there somewhere in the middle, and and then it kind of goes and weaves itself through other people like Simon Williams, Eric Williams, Nadia Pym, Hank Pym, Janet, Maria.
So her stepfather was Phineas Horton, who was the creator of the Android Human Torch.
Oh yeah.
And I was about to say I knew it was related through the Human Torch, but I wasn't sure how.
Right. So, okay, Doris Horton. Yeah. Also, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So she had a right. So her stepfather was Phineas Horton, and apparently she discovered, like she had these flame powers.
Yes. That part I remember.
Right.
But the part about Phineas Horton, yeah, which is says so right here. So there, and wait, why does it say Voltron?
Where? On the family tree?
Yeah.
I haven't looked. I'm not looking at the family tree. I was looking up Ray. Let me see.
So yeah, so on the if you're not watching the video, but if you are, then you should really watch the video. But if you are watching the video, on the left side of the picture, you'll see Frankie Ray, Lynette Ray, Adam 2, Gremlin, Dr. Phineas Horton, and on there it says Voltron.
I think that might be an in-joke.
Maybe. But anyway, regardless, that is that. It's we're not gonna get that book, and this is just some art the artist decided to throw out there for and yeah, he's right. It is a mess to kind of draw that family tree because that's a whole lot. Anyway, next.
Oh, Volton.
of old. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You're right. I put I put the R in.
You read what you wanted to read.
Yes, guilty. I still don't know who Voltan is, but you know
I'm
what?
looking that up now. That's funny as hell. But go on, you got next.
Go. Well, we've already talked about this. Marvel Meet the Scrolls may. Well, we talked about it, but we didn't necessarily talk about this. Marvel Meet the Scrolls may hint at the return of the Ultimate Universe. And I read the book, and I don't remember how, but apparently Tim, our own Tim Adams, was on the case for that one. So, and it says, and just you know what, I won't spoil it. Read the article because go get some clicks. It's
there you
good.
go.
So next up,
Jen Bartel teases Captain Marvel Adidas shoe collection. Okay,
not only teased, but they are out as of this recording, and I think there's a limited supply. So I don't know to go hit up your local Foot Locker or wherever, so you can cop. They're actually good looking shoes. If you've been on Twitter, well, they're not in this article. This was before the fact. So yeah, Jen Bartel's the artist. Done some great work. If you think about what Captain Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel's suit would look like as a shoe, there you go. That's what it looks like. It's a good looking shoe. Go check them out. And like I said, they are out in limited supply. So the sooner you hear this and get to that point, if you're a sneakerhead, you may or may not. You might want to check them out. I should have put in another thing to about that. Well, regardless, whatever. Next. Marvel Unlimited digital subscription library expands this March. There's a bunch of stuff coming to Marvel Unlimited. We don't have to get into all of that.
Nice.
Usually they're like 4 to 6 months behind. So whatever came out about four or 5 months ago.
Do they take stuff off?
No.
Wow. So they just constantly.
I'm afraid that I don't recall them taking anything off.
Okay.
There's a lot they still don't have on there, mind you, but I don't recall them taking much off, if anything. And if they have taken off some, there's probably a reason for it, but I don't remember any. I can't think of anything.
Gotcha.
About it.
Gotcha. All right. Next up, apparently there was a rumor that Disney is closing Marvel. Joe Quesada had to come out and shut that down.
Yes. So, and that was also another joke by there was a joke by Zdarsky saying, "I didn't know Disney was going to shut down DC Comics."
Oh no!
And then somebody was like, "Well, that's a different company." And then Zdarsky was like, "No, Disney Comics." So that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, apparently there was some silly rumor going around saying that Disney was closing out, which I don't know why that would be stupid. I mean, I can't say that it could never happen. Let's be real, but that seems highly unlikely. And again, Joe Quesada comes out and says, "No, that's not true." In fact, I want to say, oh yeah, so one of the reasons why he brought this out and one of the reasons why I rarely use the site is because, according to his Twitter thing, it says, "Must be a slow news day, ladies and gents. I give you the dumbest comic conspiracy of the week," and he points to a Bleeding Cool article.
Okay.
That is apparently some rumors about that. So, but if you're at South by Southwest again, he'll be there doing this Cup of Joe panel, I believe. Oh no, he'll be doing. So this is coming up from a upcoming panel at South by Southwest called Marvel from Comics to Screens that apparently sparked the rumor some kind of way, which led Joe Quesada to squash it. Go figure. And a couple of sites have already, outside of this article, have debunked the rumors. Next up, let's see. Oh, I think this is it, actually. Last news. Hit indie comic Black gets a sequel called White. So if you remember, and I think, I guess no disclosure needed, but definitely half the panel tonight but half the Comic Book Chronicles crew backed the original run of the Kickstarter of Black, which was, hey, what if Black people in the world? What if only Black people got powers? Well, coming from that, the creators of Black are doing another one called White, which goes from the other end and says that, hey, in a world where only Black people have superpowers, what do the white people do? And apparently this is going to examine that. So you can almost, if judging by what I'm seeing here, it says, in White, a politician named Theodore Mann, whose family exploited empowered Blacks for centuries, is now president of the United States. Mann's administration has enacted controversial measures to deal with the empowered people he's deemed terrorists, and he is stoking national tensions to win public support for Man First, a cybernetically augmented soldier program. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it does. So yeah, actually, it's different in a couple of ways, and some would argue probably ripped from the headlines in one little small thing. But regardless, there have been comic stories that sound similar to this. So I don't know. I haven't backed it yet, and I'm not sure. I will probably will if I get a little bit of extra on this one, but yeah. So same creative teams, and this is an article with some of the team with some of the team about it.
Gotcha.
If that is interesting to you, you should check that out.
All righty.
And that, folks, is it for the comics and it for this show. We got another ad read to come.
Our last ad read of the night is for Amazon, like I promised. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or comics. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
All right. So we will be back next week at our regular time of Thursday, 9 p.m. ish.
That's right. No movie protocol for a little while.
Yes, exactly. Not until, well, actually, I don't know. Are you going to see Shazam?
I'm not sure. We'll see.
Yeah, so that's April 5th. So we still got time for that regardless.
Yep.
And I don't think there's anything else coming out anytime soon. But regardless, next week we will be back with another episode of Comic Book Chronicles. You can find me, Radicat, on Twitter, News Nerds Need on Twitter, CB Caps on Instagram, News Nerds Need Reddit, Agent_70 on Instagram and Twitter, PCN_dirt on Twitter, popculturenetwork.com and popculture on Twitter. I need comics.com and other places. You can all find all that on popculturenetwork.com. Tim DOGG98 on Twitter, CB Cron on Twitter, TheClick Nation on Twitter, and also TheClickNation.com. And also, of course, as we have said previously, comic book resources. Go there and go click on Tim and reads his stuff. It's Tim Adams, not Tim Weber. There's another Tim. Go check him out. He's writing his face off over there. We are on, I keep wanting to say the phrase that pays, and I do not know why, but Cold Slither Podcast Network, the CSPN.us. Go to there and go check us out and other fine podcasts. And of course, Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and the Cold Slither Podcast Network's SoundCloud link. Go there and check us out all over that spice. And with that, folks, this has been the Click Nation's Comic Book Chronicles. We will see you all next week. Peace.
Peace. One.
Good evening, Rick. Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your